And now it is time for our first presenter. Gail Schenfisch is an American Sign Language Instructor here at Casper College. She has a BA in Elementary Education from UW and an MS Ed from Western Oregon University. Gail works as a sign language interpreter across the state, and her presentation tonight is entitled The Power of Understanding. Please give a warm Casper welcome to Gail Schenfisch.
I've been interpreting in Wyoming for almost 40 years. As an interpreter, my days are never boring, and my job is never the same from day to day. I'd like to share with you tonight some of my stories as I speak about the power of understanding. Many people have a vague idea of what interpreters do. It's actually a job that I never dreamed of doing. To understand myself as an interpreter, I must understand what experiences I have and bring to the job. I'm a wife, a daughter, a mother, a person who loves to travel, a teacher of ASL, a teacher of deaf children, a woman of faith, and a Wyoming native. And I'm also a nationally certified interpreter for the deaf. As a certified interpreter, I look at situations through a lens which includes many years of training, knowledge of ethics, and a large vocabulary full of synonyms in ASL and English. I have understanding of deaf and hearing culture and know the importance of self-care in my own profession. Susan DePore, a deaf artist, depicts being hearing in her work entitled The Family Dog. 90% of deaf people have hearing parents, but 85% of those people have grown up in homes where their parents and family do not sign. They are included as family members in conversations, not. As an interpreter for clients who vary in age, I have to be aware of the words or sign choices that I make and how that can influence how a person is perceived with their age. My choice of words, my slang expressions, and my hip language helps people accept my interpretation as the person's voice. Accents, regional word choice, either spoken or signed, for example, the 5 different signs for birthday, all pose challenges to interpreters. These have an influence on the accuracy of the interpretation and is one of the reasons I think I should travel more for experiential learning. As a female interpreter, I must be aware of how gender influences the interpretation. I don't want to change the attitude or the purpose of my client's message by the way I inflect my voice or raise my eyebrows or tag a please to an otherwise direct and declarative sentence. It sounds obvious, but if I have personal experience of the topic and if I know the words and what the clients are talking about, I do a much better job interpreting. As an interpreter, I do a lot of research, and I'm still researching physics, organic chem, and construction technology. I often help bridge a new and scary and sometimes awkward first-time meeting for hearing and deaf people. They must trust the words that I am signing or speaking as a clear representation of the other person's thoughts. The best end result as an interpreter is to have people forget that I'm even there. Some of my best stories come from interpreting experiences. One time the judge, to clarify an illegal possession charge, asked the defendant if they planned on smoking marijuana the day that they were arrested, to which the client replied, "No, I planned on shooting dogs." Well, understanding that there might have been an error in interpreting, I asked permission to clarify exactly what the client said. I knew when I re-asked the questions that my facial expression could not show any surprise at the defendant's response, lest they change their response. The defendant said, "Nope, we went to shoot dogs." I must convey the message accurately, even if I know the information is false. If a defendant has recently missed a court-ordered appointment and states under oath that they've attended, my job is to be aware that my voice does not give away information the client does not want to share. I enjoy the opportunity interpreting affords me to become other people. One night, the message of a very intoxicated deaf client came across quite clearly as I shouted profanity at the police. The officer glanced at me in disbelief, but quickly realized that the words which were coming from my mouth were not my words. I needed to trust my ability to understand signs and the situation. When someone speaks about how the devil dropped them into hell and that's how they got their tail, I must convey this information with neither my voice nor my face, giving away my own internal thoughts. I watch for subtle communication, like momentary glances toward the wall during a psych eval. When I asked what was going on, the patient said that their dead father was trying to interrupt. And I explained how, at night, they sprinkled holy water and set bombs around their bed so that their dead father would not disturb their speech. Interpreting can mean ER calls at 2 a.m. for a person pretending to be deaf, using just enough signs to convince the staff that an interpreter was needed. It can be a deaf, drug-seeking transient who precisely spells the names of pharmaceutical products that I have no idea how to pronounce. One night, the ER called. A deaf patient was bringing their child in with a fever of 106 degrees. As I drove to the ER, I agonized about high fever and death. As the nurse showed the thermometer to the parent, I was relieved to interpret for the deaf parent. 106, 100.6, what's the difference? Living in Wyoming, I often work with people I know. Maintaining professional boundaries is critical. I constantly assess my professional conduct. When I'm asked to interpret, I remind myself of my role in the situation as a communication agent, not as a friend who really wants to hold a new baby. The first funeral I ever attended was one I interpreted. The parent was deaf, and the child had died on their 6th birthday. As an interpreter, I must respect the sadness and the sacredness of the situation and stay with my role of an interpreter, conveying the words and the emotions of everyone except me. I bring to the job of interpreting my life experiences and my training, which helps me understand my identity as a sign language interpreter. My power is that I bridge communication between people who live in different cultures and with more than words, help broaden their understanding of one another. Thank you very much.